What if I told you that the real reason you're losing in trading has nothing to do with your strategy and everything to do with how you're wired inside? That every missed setup, every blown account, every almost made it wasn't a failure of tactics, but a misalignment between who you are and how you trade. This isn't about indicators. It's not about gurus. It's about the operating system underneath every decision you make. Because if you're using someone else's system to chase someone else's dream on someone else's timeline, you're not trading, you're pretending. And sooner or later, that gap will cost you not just money, but confidence, identity, peace. So, in the next few minutes, we're going to flip the script. No hype, no shortcuts, just the truth behind why most traders fail and how to build a system that actually fits you. He thought he had it all figured out. 8 years on Wall Street, hundreds of trades, dozens of systems tested, refined, analyzed to death. Lucas wasn't a rookie. He was the guy people came to for advice, calm under pressure, detail oriented, always the smartest in the room. When he left his job to go full time, it wasn't reckless. It was deliberate, calculated. He took $400,000 in savings, money he had earned, saved, protected, and invested in what he thought was the final piece, a proven trading system built by a six-figure mentor, sold with back-tested proof, testimonials, Discord wins every day. It was polished, structured, mechanical. Everything had a rule. Every decision had a condition. He didn't have to feel anything, just follow the code. And at first, it worked. The first 2 weeks, he made $12,000. The system delivered exactly what it promised, until, suddenly, it didn't. 1 week break even, the next down 6,000. By week 8, he was down $300,000. And the worst part, he felt nothing. Not panic, not fear. Just a slow, quiet numbness, the kind that creeps in when the ground beneath you is gone, but you're still pretending to stand. Lucas didn't lose because he broke the rules. He lost because he followed them. Blindly, rigidly, faithfully. And those rules, they weren't made for him, not for how his brain worked, not for how he made decisions, not for what he feared or how he coped with doubt. The system demanded fast execution, constant monitoring, emotional detachment. Lucas wasn't wired that way. He hated high-speed choices. He second-guessed exits. He didn't trust automation. He needed control, context, understanding. But the system didn't care who he was. It demanded obedience and punished resistance. So he tweaked it, then he retweaked, increased his size to make back losses, added filters, removed them, followed the Discord, ignored his gut, and in the end, it didn't matter because he wasn't losing to the market. He was losing to misalignment. That's the hidden killer in trading no one talks about. Misalignment. It looks like discipline. It looks like structure. It looks like doing things the right way. Until you realize you're following someone else's map, chasing someone else's edge, in a game that no longer feels like yours. Most traders don't fail because their system is broken. They fail because the system doesn't fit their psychology. And that mismatch creates friction. Quiet, invisible friction. The kind that wears you down slowly, trade by trade. You don't notice it at first. You call it a rough patch. You tell yourself you're just being emotional. But deep down, you feel it. That the system, no matter how clean it looks, doesn't match who you are when it counts. And that's what broke Lucas. Not the losses, not the strategy, the silence, the hollow sense that he was trading someone else's identity and losing his own in the process. You might recognize that feeling too. You buy a course, watch the mentor explain everything, clean charts, sniper entries, R multiples, green days every week. You try it, you want it to work, you believe it will. But in the moment, something inside you hesitates. You rush an entry, you skip a setup, you override a stop. Then you beat yourself up thinking it's a discipline issue, but it's not. It's a fit issue. And if you've ever forced yourself to sit in front of charts you hate, if you've followed a system that drains your energy instead of fueling your focus, if you've copied rules that feel robotic, rigid, wrong, then you know what misalignment feels like. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle. A constant hum of dissonance between your system and yourself. Most traders try to fix it by doubling down. More discipline, more screen time, more back testing. But what they really need is less friction, a system that reflects who they are, not who they're pretending to be. Because the truth is simple. You don't trade the market. You trade your beliefs about the market, your fears, your tendencies, your identity. Every decision, from the size you choose to the setups you favor, is shaped by your internal wiring. And if the system doesn't fit that wiring, it will always short circuit, no matter how good it looks on paper. Lucas didn't blow up because he lacked discipline. He blew up because he didn't know himself. He built a machine designed for someone else's psychology and then tried to pilot it with his own. That story isn't rare, it's almost universal. Most traders are operating systems they didn't design. They're wearing shoes that don't fit. Some are sprinting in boots. Others are hiking in sandals. And every step leaves a blister. Every trade cuts a little deeper into their confidence. But it doesn't have to be that way. The moment you realize the problem isn't you, it's the fit. Everything changes. You stop asking, why can't I follow this system? And start asking, what kind of system would I naturally follow? You stop trying to trade like your mentor and start trading like yourself, aligned, honest, clear. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Because in trading, success isn't just about edge, it's about execution. And you'll never execute consistently on a system that works against your nature. Lucas learned that too late. But maybe you don't have to. Maybe this is your wake-up call, not to quit, not to copy, but to craft. Because the system isn't the problem, misalignment is. And once you fix that, once your system finally matches your psychology, trading stops feeling like a fight. It starts feeling like flow. There's a story traders love to tell themselves, a fantasy whispered in Discord rooms, buried in YouTube thumbnails, sold in polished courses. It sounds like this: if I could just find the right system, the perfect setup, the one edge that works in every market, I'd finally win. I'd finally be free. It's seductive. Clean charts, simple rules, no more second guessing. Just press the button, follow the signal, and let the profits roll in. And for a moment, you believe it. You believe the system is out there, somewhere, hidden behind the next backtest, inside the next trading book, buried in some trader's paid course. You believe that if you work hard enough, you'll find it. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. The perfect system doesn't exist, and even if it did, it wouldn't work for you. Because no matter how many green trades you see in someone else's screenshot, no matter how many R multiples it claims to deliver, that system was built on someone else's brain, someone else's beliefs, someone else's way of seeing the market, handling risk, and managing fear. It's not your system. It never was. So what happens? You try it. It works for a week, maybe two, and then a losing streak. Not even a dramatic one, just 3, maybe 4 losers in a row. Suddenly, the confidence fades. You hesitate on the next entry. You tighten your stop. You cut a winner short. Thus, you start second-guessing rules you swore to follow. Why? Because you were never emotionally committed to the system in the first place. You were renting it, not owning it. And when pressure hits, you don't trust what isn't yours. You might think that's a discipline issue. It's not. It's a belief mismatch. Every system carries with it a hidden set of assumptions: what kind of market structure it believes in, how long you should hold a trade, how much volatility you can stomach, how often you're supposed to be right. If those assumptions don't match your internal wiring, you will sabotage it. Not out of weakness, but out of misalignment. Let's make it real. Ashley was one of those traders who always did her homework. She bought 6 trading courses in 1 year: swing trading, scalping, price action, mean reversion, crypto, options. Every system worked for someone else. She didn't fail because she was lazy. She failed because she was system hopping her way through strategies that conflicted with who she was. Ashley hated fast decisions, but kept trying to day trade. She loved deep, but followed systems built on rigid, emotionless entry rules. She valued clarity, but forced herself to follow high-frequency systems designed for reaction, not reflection. And it left her drained. Not just financially, emotionally, energetically. Every win felt empty. Every loss felt personal. She wasn't trading, she was imitating. Until one day she stopped and asked a simple question: what kind of trader am I when no one is watching? That question changed everything, because up to that point, she had been chasing performance. Now she was chasing alignment. She stopped copying systems and started crafting her own. That's the shift most traders never make. They go from system to system, strategy to strategy, always assuming that the answer is out there. That if they just find the right combo of indicators, risk, reward ratio, or win rate, it'll all finally click. but they're solving the wrong problem. It's not about performance, it's about fit, because the best system isn't the one with the highest win rate. It's the one you can execute with confidence, clarity, and consistency, even after 3 losers in a row. Think of trading systems like shoes. Some are made for sprinting, some for hiking, some for marathons. You wouldn't wear racing spikes on a mountain trail. You wouldn't hike in flip-flops. No matter how high performance the shoe is, if it doesn't fit you, it will fail you. That's what most traders never realize. They think success comes from optimizing a system, but it comes from owning one that fits your nature. Because when a system fits, you stop hesitating. You stop tweaking every time you lose. You stop blaming yourself for not being someone you're not. Instead, you trade from a place of calm. You trust your process. You accept drawdown as part of the journey, not a personal attack. And that's when trading transforms from constant pressure into focused execution, from ego battles into quiet professionalism. But it all starts with letting go of the myth. The system you're searching for isn't out there, it's waiting to be built by you, for you, from you. When you realize that, you stop chasing the dream of perfection and start pursuing something better, alignment. Because you don't need a flawless system. You need a system that works for your flaws. And that's what makes it perfect. Before you choose a strategy, before you backtest a system, before you risk a single dollar, there's one truth you need to face. You don't trade the market. You trade your beliefs about the market. And if you don't know what those beliefs are, they will control you silently, invisibly, until one day they cost you everything. 2 traders can use the exact same system. One thrives, calm, focused, consistent. The other chokes, hesitating, tweaking, sabotaging. Same setup, same entries, same rules, different internal blueprint. That blueprint isn't in your charting platform, it's in your mind. And most traders never map it. They skip this step because it's not sexy. It doesn't feel like progress, but it's the difference between strategy and sustainability. Let's stop pretending your success depends on the next indicator. It depends on how well your system fits the person you actually are. So let's map that person, honestly, without filters. This is your psychological blueprint, the internal architecture every trade passes through. There are 5 parts, 5 levers that shape everything you do in the market. Let's walk through them. 1. Risk tolerance. What amount of drawdown can you truly handle before fear takes over? Not in theory, not on paper, but in real time with real money, real losses, real emotions. Do you freeze when you lose 2 trades in a row? Do you revenge trade after drawdown? Do you chase the next big win to feel back in control? Most traders lie to themselves here. They say they can handle 10%, then they spiral at 2%. Your first trading edge is honesty, because the market doesn't care what you claim to tolerate, it will test what you actually can. 2. Decision speed. Are you a quick responder, or do you need time to analyze, feel, confirm? Do you thrive on the 1-minute chart, or does every candle move leave you feeling rushed, reactive, anxious? Fast systems aren't for slow thinkers. Slow systems aren't for adrenaline seekers. Scalping looks cool on YouTube, but if you freeze under pressure, it will destroy you. You don't need to trade fast to trade well. You need to match your system's speed to your mind's rhythm. 3. Winning versus being right. Some traders need to be right often to feel confident. Others are okay with losing frequently, as long as the wins are big. Which are you? If your ego depends on being right, then a trend-following system with 30% win rate might break you, even if it makes money. But if you can tolerate being wrong 7 times in a row and still take trade number 8 with full conviction, then you've mastered something most never do. Ask yourself, can I emotionally survive a strategy that only wins 3 out of 10 times, but wins big when it does? If not, don't build around it. 4. Emotional triggers. Where do you lose control? Is it after a win when you feel invincible, or after a loss when you feel like you have to earn it back? Do you self-sabotage in boredom, overtrade in excitement, break your rules in fear of missing out? Your triggers aren't flaws, they're signals. Signals pointing to deeper stories running under your surface. Every time you break a rule, ask, what emotion drove that decision? Not the chart, not the setup, the emotion, because that's where your real risk lives. 5. Beliefs about money. What does money represent to you? Freedom? Power? Safety? Validation? What did you learn about money growing up? Did you watch someone lose it all? Did you hear money doesn't grow on trees? Did you learn that wealth is dangerous, greedy, unfair? Those beliefs don't disappear just because you opened a trading account. They show up in your sizing, in your exits, in your fear of success, in your inability to hold a winner or take a loss cleanly. If money equals identity, then every trade becomes a test of who you are. That's too much weight for any system to carry. You have to rewrite those beliefs, or they will keep rewriting your results. Once you've walked through all five, risk tolerance, decision speed, win-loss wiring, emotional triggers, and money beliefs, you'll have something most traders never build, a map of your internal market. You'll know what breaks you, what stabilizes you, what system traits you should avoid, and which ones you can thrive inside. This is not optional, because if your system asks for behaviors that your psychology can't sustain, it will fail, no matter how good the edge looks on paper. That's the silent reason most traders jump from strategy to strategy. They're not undisciplined. They're unaware of their own blueprint. They're trying to trade from someone else's identity. So here's your reality check. If you say your risk tolerance is high, but your stomach flips after one red day, you're lying to yourself. If you claim to be a calm, rules-based trader, but tweak your system every week, you haven't found your fit. This isn't judgment, it's liberation. Because when you stop pretending, you start designing a system that actually works, not just logically, but emotionally, energetically, psychologically. That's what makes it sustainable. The market doesn't reward willpower, it rewards alignment. And alignment starts by understanding this. You don't need to change who you are to become a trader. You need to trade in alignment with who you already are. This is your edge, not some magic setup, not someone's win rate, but a system built around your internal truth. You follow the rules, you manage risk, you journal every trade, you do everything by the book, and still somehow you fall apart. You break your plan, you revenge trade, you cut winners too early, you hesitate at the worst possible time. Why? It's not because you lack discipline. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's not even because the system is bad. It's because you're being controlled by something you can't see, but feel in every decision you make. Your beliefs. Beliefs are the invisible code running in the background of your trading software. They don't yell, they whisper, they don't show up on the chart. They show up in how you react to it. You can journal, you can meditate, you can read every book on technical analysis. But if deep down you still believe money is hard to keep, I don't deserve success, one mistake means I've failed, then no system will save you because your behavior isn't being driven by logic, it's being driven by story. Let me tell you about Eli. He was sharp, analytical, meticulous, almost robotic in his execution. He risked 1% per trade, logged every entry, followed every rule. He was the definition of disciplined. But every time he got close to a breakthrough, he self-destructed. 1 week of solid gains followed by 1 day of chaos. Overtrading, oversizing, exiting winners too early, entering setups that weren't there. No matter how well things were going, he always found a way to blow it up. It didn't make sense until coaching revealed a memory he hadn't thought about in years. When Eli was 9, his father lost everything in a market crash. The family spiraled into debt. The shame never left the house. And somewhere deep in his subconscious, Eli had made a connection. If I succeed at trading, the same thing might happen to me. So every time he got close to success, he hit the brakes. Not because he wanted to fail, but because at a deep level, success meant collapse. His system didn't fail him. His beliefs did. You might not have a story like Eli's, but you do have beliefs that are shaping how you trade every day. They sound like, if I lose, I'm a loser. I have to prove I'm good enough. If I don't make money this month, I've failed. If I play small, I'll stay safe. Success means pressure, expectation, fear. These beliefs don't come from charts. They come from childhood, from trauma, from moments where you learned, consciously or not, what money, failure, or identity meant. And those meanings, they're still with you, embedded, unquestioned, running the show. The market doesn't just trigger trades. It triggers the parts of you that are still unresolved. That's why one trader thrives under pressure and another melts. That's why one trader lets winners run and another sabotages them out of guilt. That's why you might make the same mistake over and over and not know why. because the belief is operating beneath awareness, like a virus in the code. Beliefs are powerful not because they're true, but because they're familiar. And in moments of stress, we don't default to strategy, we default to belief. So here's your invitation: a belief audit. No fluff, no filters, just truth. Take a piece of paper and answer these questions. What do I believe about losing money? What do I believe about taking risks? What do I believe about wealthy people? What do I believe about myself under pressure? Then ask, where did these beliefs come from? Was it a parent, a teacher, a failure you never truly faced? How do these beliefs show up in my trading today? What would change if I believed the opposite? Not because you're trying to be blindly positive, but because beliefs are not facts. They're stories. Stories you've rehearsed so many times you started mistaking them for reality. Here's a secret most traders never hear. You can exit a belief the same way you exit a trade when it no longer serves you. You don't have to carry money is hard for the rest of your life. You don't have to keep trading with the belief that success will make me a target. You don't have to protect yourself from outcomes you've already outgrown. Because here's the twist: the belief that's sabotaging your trading might have nothing to do with trading at all. It might be the belief that says, I have to be perfect to be loved, or if I slow down, I'm lazy, or if I win too much, people will expect more from me. And every time you enter a trade, that belief steps into the room with you. It sits beside you at the desk. It whispers in your ear after a loss. It guides your mouse when fear shows up. Until you name it, it owns you. But once you see it, you get to choose. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming aware. Because awareness changes behavior. The moment you realize you're not reacting to the market, but to an old belief that's no longer true, you reclaim control. That's when trading becomes a mirror, not a battleground. You don't need to fix all your beliefs today. You just need to see them clearly, because beliefs don't need to be destroyed. They need to be understood. And when they are, the sabotage stops, the hesitation fades, the fear softens. And what's left is someone finally free to trade, not from old wounds, but from new clarity. It's not your entry, it's not your setup, it's not your strategy, your win rate, or your timing. Most traders don't get wrecked because they picked the wrong trade. They get wrecked because they traded the right idea with the wrong size. Position sizing, the unsexy, unglamorous, unmarketable part of trading. The thing no one posts screenshots about. The lever that determines survival, yet gets almost no attention. And that's the irony, because in trading, size is everything. It's not just about risk, it's about emotions. It's about how your brain processes fear, greed, and pressure. It's about whether you can follow your plan after 3 losses in a row. It's about whether your system is mentally executable, not just mathematically viable. Here's what most traders do: they learn a new strategy, backtest it, tweak it, build confidence. Then they go live and size up fast. Why? Because they want to win faster, make back losses, prove something, or simply because 2% risk sounded reasonable. But trading isn't theory, it's exposure. And most traders are emotionally overexposed. Imagine this: you risk 10% of your account per trade. You lose 2 trades in a row. You're now down 19%. Not catastrophic, right? But now your psychology is fractured. You hesitate on the third setup. You miss it, and it would have been a win. You feel frustrated. You size up to make it back. You lose again. Now you're down 30%. What started as just 2 bad trades becomes a downward spiral, not because the strategy failed, but because your sizing broke your mind. Position sizing is not just math, it's emotional engineering. Too big, and you panic. Too small, and you disengage. Just right, and you stay calm, focused, neutral. That just right level isn't about maximizing profits, it's about maximizing your ability to stay in the game. Because if you can't follow your system at the size you're trading, then the size is wrong, not the system. You've probably heard it before: never risk more than 1% per trade. It's decent advice, but incomplete, because 1% might be too much for you. Let me explain. If you're trading a high volatility system with a 30% win rate but huge R multiples, even 1% risk per trade can feel like a heart attack. If you're trading a 90% win rate scalping method, 1% might be way too aggressive. One slip and you lose 5 trades worth of wins. The right size is personal. It has to match 2 things: your strategy's risk profile, your emotional threshold. Here's a metaphor. Imagine you're driving a Ferrari, top speed, beautiful design, incredible machine, but the brakes, they're from a bicycle. No matter how good the car is, without the right control system, it's a death trap. That's what most traders are doing. They're optimizing for horsepower, but ignoring their ability to handle speed, correction, and recovery. Let me introduce you to Tom. Tom found a system with a 90% win rate. He was thrilled, worked 9 out of 10 times. But what he didn't notice was this: each win equals $10, each loss equals $100. So even with a 90% win rate, he was losing money. Why? Because his risk to reward was upside down and his position size didn't reflect it. When he finally did the math, he realized I wasn't trading a system, I was trading a fantasy. It wasn't the edge that betrayed him, it was the sizing. So ask yourself, what percent of your account are you risking per trade? What drawdown would make you hesitate? How many losses in a row would push you into tilt? If you don't know the answers, the market will find them for you, and the lesson will be expensive. Here's a powerful question. At what size could I lose 5 trades in a row and still trade clearly? Not theoretically, emotionally. That is your current true risk threshold, not the one you want, the one you can handle. That's where your position sizing should live, or slightly below it. Because in trading, mental clarity is more valuable than potential profit. And yes, that might mean smaller wins, less dopamine, slower growth, but it also means less tilt, fewer breakdowns, more consistency. Because your real edge isn't just the system, it's your ability to stay in it long enough for the edge to play out. Position sizing is how you stay in. Look at your last 10 losing trades. Not just the outcome, but how you felt. Did you hesitate? Did you overcorrect? Did you chase? Did you quit? Now match those behaviors to your position size. Was the emotional pain greater than the logical risk? If yes, your size is too big. If no, you're getting closer to alignment. You don't trade to get rich fast. You trade to stay alive long enough to get rich slowly. And staying alive means respecting your own limits. You are not soft for trading smaller. You are not leaving money on the table. You're building resilience because it's not about how much you make in a month. It's about how long you can keep making it without breaking. So here's your new mantra. I size my trades based on what keeps me present, not what strokes my ego. Every trader wants to win big, but the ones who last are the ones who learn how to not lose stupid. And that starts with size. You've probably heard the advice 100 times. Stick to the plan. But what if the plan you're sticking to was never built for you? What if the very structure you're trying to be loyal to, the rules, the setups, the rituals, was designed by someone with a different brain, a different risk profile, a different emotional rhythm? You're not a machine. You're not an algorithm. You are human, flawed, inconsistent, emotional. But that's not the weakness. That's the raw material. Because once you build the system around who you truly are, those flaws become your edge. Most traders spend their lives trying to fit into someone else's system, trying to force discipline, suppress emotion, override instinct. They think success is about obedience, about becoming like those guys, the ones who seem calm, sharp, robotic. But that's not mastery, that's mimicry. True mastery is when your system fits you so well, you don't have to force anything. It just flows because it was built from you, not in spite of you. Here's the truth. You don't need to change who you are to trade successfully. You need to trade in a way that reflects who you already are. And that means building from the inside out, not starting with the chart, but with the mirror. Who are you when the trade goes against you? Who are you when you're up 5 days in a row? Who are you when nothing sets up for hours? Until you know that person, the one who shows up under pressure, you can't build anything sustainable. But once you do, you stop reacting and you start designing. Let's break it down. To build a system around yourself, you need to define 5 things, all grounded in who you are, not just what you want. 1, your market lens. This is your worldview, your fundamental way of interpreting market structure. Do you see the market as chaotic or patterned? Do you believe in momentum or mean reversion? Are you drawn to price action, indicators, or fundamentals? This isn't about what works. It's about what makes sense to you, intuitively, emotionally, logically. Because when your system reflects how you naturally see the market, you don't second guess it, you understand it. 2, your time frame tolerance. Some traders thrive on quick decisions. Others need space to process. Don't pick your time frame based on where the action is. Pick it based on where your mind stays calm. If the 5-minute chart makes you anxious, zoom out. If the daily chart bores you, zoom in. There's no right time frame. There's only the one where you can actually think clearly. 3, your risk comfort zone. We covered this before, but now it's personal. How much can you really risk per trade and still sleep at night? This isn't about maximizing profit. It's about minimizing panic. Because no matter how good your system is, if your sizing pushes you into survival mode, you'll break your own rules the moment pressure hits. So build a system that respects your nervous system. Number 4, your entry and exit psychology. Are you someone who needs precision, or do you prefer zones and context? Do you feel more in control when you automate exits, or do you need discretion to feel connected? There's no shame in needing structure, and there's no shame in needing flexibility. The key is consistency, not just in rules, but in how those rules feel to you. If you hate waiting for confirmation, design your entries around anticipation with tight stops. If you hate being stopped out by wicks, use wider structure-based exits. Make the mechanics match your mind. 5, your rituals and recovery. How do you prepare? How do you reset after a loss? How do you stay centered in the middle of the storm? The best systems aren't just technical, they're ritualized. Maybe you need music. Maybe you journal after every trade. Maybe you walk away after a winner to avoid overconfidence. Build that into the system. Codify it. Not just how you trade, but how you recover, how you reflect, how you reconnect with clarity. When you put all of this together, you stop having a strategy. You have a personal operating system, something that fits like a glove, something that holds you, not just your trades, something that doesn't feel like a cage, but a container for your best self. And from that place, you don't need motivation. You don't need hype. You don't need to chase, because your system becomes an extension of your identity. One trader's edge might be sniper precision on the 1-minute chart. Yours might be waiting patiently on the daily for a perfect zone. One might trade 5 times a day. You might trade 5 times a month. Both can win if they're in alignment. It's not about more trades, it's about fewer mistakes. Not about bigger wins, about fewer emotional breakdowns. Not about trying harder, but about building smarter. So here's the challenge. Stop looking for the right system. Start building the one that feels right and holds up under pressure. Take everything you've learned about your beliefs, your wiring, your emotional blueprint, and turn it into structure. Turn it into process. Turn it into clarity. Because trading is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you are and building something strong enough to let that person lead. You've probably heard the advice 100 times. Stick to the plan. But what if the plan you're sticking to was never built for you? What if the very structure you're trying to be loyal to, the rules, the setups, the rituals, was designed by someone with a different brain, a different risk profile, a different emotional rhythm? You're not a machine. You're not an algorithm. You are human, flawed, inconsistent, emotional. But that's not the weakness. That's the raw material. That's right. Because once you build the system around who you truly are, those flaws become your edge. Most traders spend their lives trying to fit into someone else's system, trying to force discipline, suppress emotion, override instinct. They think success is about obedience, about becoming like those guys, the ones who seem calm, sharp, robotic. But that's not mastery, that's mimicry. True mastery is when your system fits you so well. You don't have to force anything, it just flows because it was built from you, not in spite of you. Here's the truth. You don't need to change who you are to trade successfully. You need to trade in a way that reflects who you already are. And that means building from the inside out, not starting with the chart, but with the mirror. Who are you when the trade goes against you? Who are you when you're up 5 days in a row? Who are you when nothing sets up for hours? Until you know that person, the one who shows up under pressure, you can't build anything sustainable. But once you do, you stop reacting and you start designing. Let's break it down. To build a system around yourself, you need to define 5 things, all grounded in who you are, not just what you want. 1, your market lens. This is your worldview, your fundamental way of interpreting market structure. Do you see the market as chaotic or patterned? Do you believe in momentum or mean reversion? Are you drawn to price action, indicators, or fundamentals? This isn't about what works. It's about what makes sense to you, intuitively, emotionally, logically. Because when your system reflects how you naturally see the market, you don't second guess it. You understand it. 2. Your time frame tolerance. Some traders thrive on quick decisions. Others need space to process. Don't pick your time frame based on where the action is. Pick it based on where your mind stays calm. If the 5-minute chart makes you anxious, zoom out. If the daily chart bores you, zoom in. There's no right time frame. There's only the one where you can actually think clearly. 3. Your risk comfort zone. We covered this before, but now it's personal. How much can you really risk per trade and still sleep at night? This isn't about maximizing profit. It's about minimizing panic. Because no matter how good your system is, if your sizing pushes you into survival mode, you'll break your own rules the moment pressure hits. So build a system that respects your nervous system. 4. Your entry and exit psychology. Are you someone who needs precision, or do you prefer zones and context? Do you feel more in control when you automate exits, or do you need discretion to feel connected? There's no shame in needing structure, and there's no shame in needing flexibility. The key is consistency, not just in rules, but in how those rules feel to you. If you hate waiting for confirmation, design your entries around anticipation with tight stops. If you hate being stopped out by wicks, use wider structure-based exits. Make the mechanics match your mind. 5. Your rituals and recovery. How do you prepare? How do you reset after a loss? How do you stay centered in the middle of the storm? The best systems aren't just technical, they're ritualized. Maybe you need music. Maybe you journal after every trade. Maybe you walk away after a winner to avoid overconfidence. Build that into the system, codify it, not just how you trade, but how you recover, how you reflect, how you reconnect with clarity. When you put all of this together, you stop having a strategy. You have a personal operating system, something that fits like a glove, something that holds you, not just your trades, something that doesn't feel like a cage, but a container for your best self. And from that place, you don't need motivation, you don't need hype, you don't need to chase, because your system becomes an extension of your identity. One trader's edge might be sniper precision on the 1-minute chart. Yours might be waiting patiently on the daily for a perfect zone. One might trade 5 times a day, you might trade 5 times a month. Both can win if they're in alignment. It's not about more trades, it's about fewer mistakes, not about bigger wins, about fewer emotional breakdowns, not about trying harder, but about building smarter. So here's the challenge. Stop looking for the right system. Start building the one that feels right and holds up under pressure. Take everything you've learned about your beliefs, your wiring, your emotional blueprint, and turn it into structure. Turn it into process. Turn it into clarity. Because trading is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you are and building something strong enough to let that person lead. You started trading for freedom. Not just financial freedom, but time freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, freedom from the boss, freedom from the alarm clock, freedom from the fear of what if. You saw the screenshots, the laptops on the beach lifestyle, the zero meeting days, and something in you whispered, that could be me. You didn't want a Lamborghini, you didn't need a mansion, you just wanted enough space to breathe, to live life on your terms, to wake up and not feel owned. But somewhere along the way, freedom became another prison. Now you're glued to the screen, obsessed with entries, checking charts at midnight, panicking on drawdowns, feeling guilty when you're not trading, feeling lost when you are. Freedom was the promise, but pressure became the reality. You didn't leave the 9 to 5 to become free. You left it and brought the same chains with you. Here's the truth. Freedom is not the goal of trading. It's the side effect of doing the work that creates mastery. You don't get freedom because you trade. You get freedom because you've earned the internal capacity to operate without chaos. You've built structure, you've faced your fear, you've eliminated the behaviors that sabotage you, you've aligned your system with your nature. And then, and only then, trading gives you space. Not before. Never before. Too many traders chase freedom the way addicts chase a high. They want the outcome without the identity shift. They want the money without the system, the lifestyle without the structure, the peace without the process. But in trading, freedom is not found in the absence of rules. It's found in having the right rules and living them with clarity. Freedom is not about doing whatever you want. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer wants to escape. Let's get personal. When do you feel most trapped in trading? It's not when the market is closed. It's when you're lost in noise, when you have no plan, when you're chasing setups, when you're in 5 trades, none of which feel right, and your heart is racing. That's not freedom. That's dependency. You're not trading. You're coping. You're not operating from clarity. You're reaching for relief. And that's what most traders call the grind. But what it really is emotional avoidance. Avoidance dressed up as ambition. But there's another way. And it begins with a reframe. You don't trade for freedom. You trade with discipline, structure, and alignment. And freedom is what remains when the chaos falls away. Because real freedom isn't found in the outcome. It's found in your relationship with process. You could have a $500,000 account and still feel imprisoned, still obsessed, still scared, still chasing. Or you could be trading $25,000 with a clear system, a clear mind, and a clear identity, and feel more free than most millionaires. Freedom is not a destination, it's a state. A state you enter when you no longer need the market to prove something about you, when you no longer define your worth by today's P&L, when you no longer measure your success in weeks, but in consistency, alignment, and peace of mind. That's when trading stops being a trap and becomes a tool. The goal is not to make enough money to never worry again. Because even if you do, you'll find something new to worry about. That's how the mind works until you train it otherwise. The real goal is to become someone who can sit with risk, uncertainty, and imperfection without spiraling. And that's what trading teaches you, if you let it. It teaches you how to detach from ego, observe emotion, trust process, accept loss, celebrate mastery over outcome. And from that comes freedom. It's subtle, it's not loud. It doesn't look like a luxury vacation. It looks like this. You wake up and don't feel urgency. You see a missed setup and don't feel regret. You lose a trade and feel nothing but data. You close the platform and feel complete. You have a system and you trust it, not because it's perfect, but because it fits you. That's freedom. Not the absence of problems, but the absence of self-imposed suffering. And it's not out there. It's not in the next course. It's not in a 6-figure month. It's already available the moment you shift from chasing to crafting, from proving to practicing, from needing to becoming. So let go of the fantasy. Let go of the image of freedom someone else sold you. You don't need yachts. You don't need beach laptops. You don't need to impress anyone. What you need is a system that fits you, a mind you can trust, and a mission bigger than the money. From that place, freedom isn't something you hunt. It's something that happens. If this message spoke to you, if something in your chest said, "That's me," then it's time to stop chasing systems and start building one that fits you. Hit the like button if this resonated. Subscribe if you're ready to trade with intention, not addiction. And drop a comment below. What belief are you leaving behind today? Because this isn't just a video, it's a turning point. From noise to clarity, from chaos to command, from trading like a gambler to operating like a CEO of your mind, your system, your future. Let's build that system together.